Welcome to SS EDUCARE Teaching Learning channel. Thank you for all my subscribers. Those who are watching my videos without subscribing, please subscribe and watch my videos. Don't forget to share it to your 10th standard friends. Hope all my videos would be helpful for the students. Let's go to our channel. Story of the day. Once there was a man who was walking on the rope, very tall. That rope was the rope was tied to a very tall sticks, and he was having a bamboo stick in his hand. The man was holding or having his son on his shoulders. He was walking on the rope. People who are seeing around him was so worried that this man, what would happen to this man? Everybody was holding their breath in their hands. So they started praying God that this fellow should end up the rope live. And he was having his very young son also. All people were praying to God that nothing should happen for this man. And this man, very happily smiling, has done his work, and then he reached the end of the rope successfully. And he came down. All the people were around him. They brought mic near him and asked to say something. The man started asking. All of you were worried and feared about that how I would reach the end of the rope, what would happen to me if I fall down in the middle. But all of you had a hope that I would definitely end up with this. Isn't it? After seeing him ending up walking to the end of the rope, everybody has got confidence that this fellow would reach it, and if how many times he can do, how many times he is trying, he can end up successfully. He asked the same thing to the audience, whoever is standing there. Say, will I complete this if I am going to do it next time? Do you all have the hope that I will complete next time also? All of them said, yes, we all have confidence that you will definitely do it successfully. Yes, there is a question for you, for all of you. I would take my son out of my shoulders and ask one of your child and ask them to sit on my shoulders. Will anybody do it? Nobody was answering from the crowd, and nobody came forward also to give their child. That is what is happening for people nowadays. Let's link this with the God. People believe in God, isn't it? People believe that there is God. There is God. God is the one who is mastering us, who is commanding us, but he is not seen for us. So they believe that God is somewhere there and he is the one who is controlling us, but they don't have faith in God. If people have faith in God, definitely they would have given their kids to the man. That is what is happening. So believe in God and have faith in God also. That's the story for the today. Welcome back to the channel. In my today's video, I am going to teach the second part of chapter 4, Absorption of Roots. I ended up with the characteristics of roots and functions of roots. Now, I am going to continue this video with characteristics of roots for absorbing water. For absorbing water, how should roots be? What are the characteristics of roots meant, or what are the modifications roots will make for absorbing water? Number 1, the root hairs, they should be thin and delicate. For absorbing water, the root hairs that is present on the roots should be thin and delicate. It should be very, very thin. Assume if root hairs are very, very thick, will it hold or absorb the water? Definitely not. That's why we have sponges for absorbing water. See the texture or nature of sponges, the material will be very, very thin and very delicate also. That is why all the water molecules will go easily into the surface. Likewise, root hairs should also be very thin and very delicate. It should not be tough. If the surface is tough, then the molecules will not get into it, get in between the surface molecules. Next, the cell wall of root hair is made up of two layers, outer pectin and inner cellulose. We all of us know cell wall. Cell wall of plant cell is very rigid. I already told in my first video. The cell wall of plant cell is very tough and rigid to make the plant very strong to stand erect. So what is that cell wall made up of? The cell wall of root hair, not the plant actually. The cell wall of root hair, it should be or it is made up of two layers. The outermost layer is made up of pectin, a form of protein layer. What is protein meant for? Proteins are building blocks. It is meant for building up new cells or whatever it is. Then inner layer is made up of cellulose. Cellulose give energy or strength or the support for the cell. It gives mechanical support. So for the root hair cell, outermost is made up of a protein layer called pectin and innermost is made up of the cellulose. Then, so these are the characteristics of roots for absorbing water. Next, characteristics of roots for transporting water. How should water be transported and how should roots be modified for such process? Epidermis of root hairs is permeable. I already said permeable is giving permission, allowing. The epidermis, not the endodermis. Root hairs are present in the epidermal region of the root. Yesterday I have drawn the diagram. In my previous video, I have drawn the diagram of root hair where the innermost has xylem and phloem and the outermost has root hairs. So the outermost layer you call it as epidermis. The epidermis of root hairs, it should be permeable. The epidermis, if the epidermis is permeable only, it will allow the water molecules inside or from inside it will allow the water molecules outside to water as it has thin cellulosic wall. I already said, see the root hairs, it should be thin and delicate. And what is that innermost layer? Innermost layer is made up of cellulose. That's why they have given thin cellulosic wall. The cell wall has thin cellulose. That is why if the cell wall, assume if the cell wall is very thick, like 3 or 4 layers, then the molecules or the water molecules or the minerals get stuck in between these layers so that it can't pass easily out of it or inside. So the cell wall should be very thin and it is made up of cell. Though it is thin, it should not be fragile, easily broken or have any damage easily. It should be delicate. So for that it is made up of cellulose. The root hairs has very higher concentration than surface area. What is the surface area? The surrounding one. What is the surrounding area for root hairs? It's the soil. Soil definitely has more number of minerals. Soil, like in our lower classes we have studied, soil has 2 types of nutrients. Macronutrients, micronutrients. Macro means the nutrients that are required in large quantities by the plant. Micronutrients, the nutrients which are required in very less quantity by the plant. So, since the soil is very, very rich in all these nutrients, the surface area at the soil has very higher concentration than that is there in the root hairs. The root hairs will have very less concentration of minerals and more concentration of water. We don't call it as a concentrated. Am I right? In chemistry, again going back to chemistry, in chemistry we have seen, or I am taking 2 test tubes. In one I am adding only 1 spoon of sugar and in the second test tube I am adding 5 spoons of sugar. I am adding equal amounts of water like 10 ml to each of the test tube. So mix it nicely. Now tell me which test tube has more amount of sugar. Though you mix water in it, test tube A, I have added only 1 tablespoon of sugar and I mix water. Isn't it? Here the sugar concentration is very less. The water percentage is more. Think I will say sugar is 10% and water is 90%. In the second test tube, I have added 5 teaspoons of sugar. So in this, like again same 10 ml of water. In the second test tube, the concentration of sugar is 50% and the concentration of water is 50%. So who is more concentrated here? The test tube B. I will call it as concentrated. But in test tube 1, I have only 10% of sugar and 90% of water, which means I will call that as dilute. So the water inside the root hairs or the root will be dilute because there is less amount of minerals in it when compared with the soil. Next, the root hairs give enough surface area for absorption. We keep on discussing about this point. Root hairs help in holding the soil for its own purpose, that is from soil only root hairs will get all the minerals. So for its own self or like it is so selfish actually, root hairs. So for that it will fix itself to the soil. So that is what is increasing the surface area. It spreads to all areas of the soil so that it will like deeply get penetrated into the soil. That is how root hairs give enough surface area for absorption. Next is, there are some process related to absorption of water by roots. Let's see those 3 processes. Number 1 is imbibition. I already said imbibition in my previous video. I have taken chenna seeds as an example. Overnight we are soaking it in water and next day you can see water, the content of water or the quantity of water is reduced and the seed size has been increased. It got swelled up. That is because of imbibing, absorbing water. The process is called as imbibition. Let's see what is happening, why it is imbibing. Imbibition is the process by which living cells or dead cells of plants absorb water by surface tension. In plants we have both living cells and some of them are dead cells also. The dead cells will definitely be replaced. So process by which living cells or the dead cells of plants absorb water by surface tension is called as imbibition. What is this tension? Tension means some sort of force. For example, if I take me as an example, I will say I am so tensed, I am in a tension. For examination, I have to conduct an exam sharp at 8 o'clock. I am still outside in the outskirts of the school by 7:30. So I couldn't reach school by 8 o'clock because it's full of traffic jam. What will happen to be? I will be tensed. The tension starts for me. Tension. So what is that? Some sort of force is hitting my mind that I should be I am the main examiner there. I should be present in the hall before the set time. Isn't it? So some sort of force is pushing me inside that you have to go there. It's your responsibility. That is called as tension. If the same tension occurs on the surface of plants, especially in the root hair region or in the roots region, okay, that results in imbibition. So how is that possible? Let me take an example. So I have taken a beaker of water. Assume this is a molecule. It can be water molecule or it may be a mineral molecule. So this molecule is present inside the water initially, and sometimes maybe due to this water, when I keep like applying pressure on the upper surface of water, the molecule has been pushed up on the surface. See, it is not completely on the surface of water, it is in between the surface of water and inside the water. So this molecule, what is it facing? It is facing the tension or the force from the surface. Actually, the force some force is acting on the surface from above and trying to pull it up, and some force is acting on this molecule from down. It's always from down. Whatever force is being applied, it's a force of gravity set by Isaac Newton. So there is two forces, one from the above, which you call it as, since it is on the surface, I will call it as a surface tension. Tension is nothing but the force. The force applied on the molecule tries to pull the molecule up, and the force of gravity, which is acting from downwards, will try to pull the molecule down, and thereby what will happen? The molecule will stay very firmly, and then the water is being like going inside because of this surface tension created on the surface of the molecule. Next, in imbibition process, the water moves with same force from more saturated solution to less saturated solution. Actually, these 5 steps are step by step, one by one process of how water is getting inside by imbibition process. The first step I told, surface tension is created for the molecule. Some sort of tension or force is being created for the surface of the molecule, water molecule. Yes. In the second step, water moves with same force from more saturated solution to less saturated solution. Which is more saturated? Saturated. Again, I will take the sugar example. I have taken 2 beakers or 2 test tubes. Initially, I told you. So, in that one test tube, I have added only 10 ml of 90 ml of water and then 1 teaspoon of sugar. In the second test tube, I have added 5 teaspoons of sugar and 10 ml of water. So, I keep stirring it. The sugar is getting dissolved in it. Again, I keep adding sugar to more than its limit. At one stage, the sugar will not get dissolved in it. That is saturated state, where the concentration of the solute has gone above its limit. In that stage, it cannot get mixed up, whatever we added. So, it will remain as sugar molecules only. That is saturated state. So, the imbibition, water molecules move from more saturated region. Which is more saturated region? I already said it is your soil region. Soil region is more saturated because it contains more amount of minerals. Your calcium ions, your sodium ions, your potassium ions, your magnesium ions, all these are like very good metallic ions. They are present in the soil. So, the soil is more saturated region. So, from the more saturated region of soil, it has to enter to the root region. Root region, I said, it is less concentrated or less saturated region because it has only small amount of water and small amount of minerals also. Third step. After this, it helps in ascent of sap by root hairs. So, the same process, imbibition process, also helps in ascent of sap. Ascent of sap. What is this ascent of sap? So, if the plant is of medium sized height, the conduction of water from root hairs to the plant is very easy because the plant size is very small and the xylem vessels are closely located, so that the movement of water or conduction of water will be very easy. But assume there are very tall plants like palm tree, coconut trees, so all such, eucalyptus tree, all such plants are very tall plants. So for that, see the height of the plant, the water has to travel a very long distance from roots to the tip of the plant. In that case, the xylem vessels may not be situated so close as it is in the medium sized plants. Yes? How water will be conducted there? There will be a force from the upside direction. As I already said, there will be some force which tries to pull the water molecule upwards. That is surface tension here in the sense. But there in the tall plants, the same force will try to pull the water molecule from down to up. That force or the pull, you call it as a transpiration pull. And the process of moving water from lower level to a very tall plants is called as ascent of sap. ascent of sap by root hairs. So this root hairs is again helping for that ascent of sap. Then seeds and grains swell up due to imbibition and endosmosis. I already said seeds and grains will get swelled up because the outer surface will be very soft when it is soaking in the water, and then it will easily get cut open so that water enters inside. Then the force generated by absorbing water is very strong to crack the seed coats. The surface tension again acts here. The surface tension on the surface of the water molecule will create some force. The more force will be generated on all sides. The surface tension or the force will try to hit the molecule. So what will happen to the surface? If when so many devils comes and hits the one person, what will happen? The person will die. And same way here, all extraordinary forces surrounding the surface of the molecule will try to hit only one small molecule. What will happen? The molecule will cut open. So that is what is cracking the seed coats. The second process is diffusion. It is the movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. Diffusion is the movement of only water molecules. Always the movement of water molecules will be from higher concentration to lower concentration without any energy and force. It's called as diffusion. Let me take an example. I have taken here a colored molecule. It can be anything. It can be an ink, or it can be KMNO4 or any colored molecule. Assume it is red in color. I have dropped it in the water. See, initially this is the first step. In the second step, this molecule has got exerting some force towards this water. And of course, water molecules will also exert force on the new molecule. So due to that force, this one, the molecule, see the size of this here and size of this here, it has increased in size due to the external force by water molecules on the new molecule, that is the colored molecule. Then in the third beaker, you can see this molecule has dispersed in the middle of the water. Then finally, in the last beaker, you can see the whole water has become red in color, which means the total molecules of the total colored molecules have been dispersed throughout the medium. Or I can say the molecules have been the water is being diffused inside the colored molecule so that both became as a single molecule. See, the total molecule, water molecule has become red in color, the color of this one, the second new molecule. That is what is diffusion. The same example, then one more example I'll give you, incense stick. Your agarbatti stick, when you light it, in the beginning, you may not get that aroma. You may not get that odor. Later, after some time, you will get that odor. This is because the air molecules, the molecules of air and the molecules of the incense stick. This molecules of incense stick will take some time to mix with the air molecules. So the air molecules has to diffuse. This both has to get diffused. So which is higher concentration? Of course, the air molecules or whatever it is the air molecules around is the higher concentration. So from there it has to enter into the incense stick molecules. So from the region of higher concentration to lower concentration, it has to move. So once when it is moving and mixing up, we will get that aroma of the incense stick. That is what is diffusion. The second process. Third process is osmosis. Very important process which we come across in our daily life. So this process is defined as movement of water molecules from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration through semi-permeable membrane. You may ask me, the definition is similar for diffusion and osmosis. Yes, the definition is similar. The movement of water molecules is similar, but there is only one difference. Osmosis passes from higher concentration to lower concentration with one condition. It will pass through, or it has to pass through, a semi-permeable membrane. It cannot pass as such like that how diffusion occurs. Semi-permeable, I already told you, cell membrane acts as semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable means does not allow all the molecules inside, it allows only specific particles. Look at this beaker. I have placed a semi-permeable membrane in between and the molecules are here. So not all the molecules have been passed here, only few molecules of this one has been passing through the other side of the beaker. That is what is osmosis. This osmosis is of two types, endosmosis, exosmosis. Endo means inside, exo means outside. So endosmosis, water from outside comes inside the cell, and in exosmosis, whatever water or the mineral concentration, whatever is present inside the cell goes out. Movement from inside to outside is exosmosis. See, look at this, the contents or the molecules from inside the cell is going out, which is called as exosmosis, and the molecules from outside is getting inside the cell. That is endosmosis. As a result of endosmosis, since more molecules are accumulating in the cell will swell up in imbibition process like. Then exosmosis, as water is going out, the cell will shrink. It will come close, it will become thin. Continuing with osmosis, if the concentration of both the solutions on either side of semi-permeable membrane is same. Before we have seen one side concentration is more and the other side concentration is less. So inward and outward movement of water, endosmosis, exosmosis we have seen. What if inside and outside both the concentrations are same? If it is same, there will be no net movement. Nothing inward and nothing outward. That is what is happening, no net movement. I will tell you an example. Go back to physics. Physics, in a table or on a table, I am placing any object, a box. On a table, I am placing a box. On two sides, right side and left side of the box, force is being applied. Obviously, when on either sides of the box, force is applied, when it is placed on a table, we will have the force of gravity that will try to pull the ball downwards. As I am applying force from right side, force will be applied from right side also. So from left side it has force, and when three forces are acting, there will be some upward force which tries to pull the box upwards. So on all four directions, forces are equally applied on the object. Will the object move? It will not move. Which side the object will move? Either upwards or sidewards or this side or down. Anywhere it will not move. Since all the forces acting on all sides are equal, there will be no net movement of the object. That is why we are all like this. The same thing, the same box example is for us human beings. Though force of gravity is acting on us, we are not always jumping. See, assume if there is no force of gravity from downwards, we all might be floating in the air. We will not be pulled up by the earth's gravitational force, isn't it? All buildings will be flying in the air. All the trees would be flying in the air, everything, if there is no force of gravity. So that is what is force. So when all the sides force is being applied on an object, there will be no net movement. Same way here, when there is both inward and outward movement of water to the cell, there will be no net movement. Nothing has been lost from the cell. That is one process. Next, the process of getting pure water from concentrated solution is called as reverse osmosis. Reverse osmosis is the procedure we are using nowadays in our house. We can see that RO water, RO. People call it as RO. But it is RO, capital R and capital O. RO is nothing but reverse osmosis, the system. What is this reverse osmosis? What is osmosis? Movement of water molecules from higher concentration to lower concentration through a membrane. But it is reverse osmosis, means what is happening? Pure water from concentrated solution. So from concentrated solution, of course in our tanks, water tanks that is being fitted in the upper terrace of our houses, we will have more concentration of water. What is that concentrated? The water will definitely have ions in it. Water by itself will have ions in it. It will have chloride ions, it will have sodium ions, it will have potassium ions, it will have H plus ions. Everything will be in the form of ions. So the concentration of water will be more. So from that we are going to filter through a semi-permeable membrane and separate the low concentrated water here. What is osmosis? From a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration. But here we are separating water from higher concentration through a membrane. That is reverse osmosis, which we do which we have that mechanism in our daily houses by which we are getting pure water. Next, osmometer. Osmometer is a device used to demonstrate osmosis. The same osmosis process, if we are doing it in a machine, it is called as osmometer. Next, osmotic pressure. Till now we have seen force. Now it is pressure. Pressure is nothing but the force acting on an unit area. Again going back to physics. Pressure is nothing but force, not on all surface. On a particular area, if force is applied, we call that as pressure. So osmosis process also exerts some pressure. So it is minimum pressure. Maximum pressure, the particular molecule may break. So it is just a minimal, very less amount of pressure applied on that particular molecule required to stop the flow of pure water to solution across the semi-permeable membrane. So this pressure is applied when what happens if all the water molecules enters into the concentrated solution, there will be no water in the cell. So there will be an osmotic pressure at one stage. If you see, the cell itself will exert, or the membrane will exert a osmotic pressure so that the flow of water will get stopped. Otherwise the water completely present in the vacuole may be lost. So that pressure is called as osmotic pressure. Let me see in an example. So assume this is one tube and this is one U tube. Okay, so the equal amount, see initially the level of solvent and the level of solute is same. They are separated by a semi-permeable membrane, which I have denoted it in green color. So solute is your water solvent is your water and solute is your concentrated water molecules or the ionic molecules or your sodium, potassium, all these minerals present in the water mixed up. There is this side. So as I said, this side the pressure is being applied, external pressure. If I am applying from outside, I will call it as an external pressure. So the external pressure is applied on the solute, on the surface of the solute. What will happen if I am applying pressure on that particular area only? That's why I am calling it as a pressure. On this particular area, this pushes the solute towards the membrane and increases the level of solvent. That is what is happening here. See, as I have applied external pressure, the level of solute has been decreased and the level of solvent has increased. This is what is happening in the osmotic pressure. See, the solvent flow. When there is no pressure, the solvent happily passes from this semi-permeable membrane and get mixed up with the solute. So after pressure is being applied, you can see the solute flow since pressure is applied from this side. So the solute flows across the membrane and raises the level of solvent. Continuing with osmosis, how long this osmosis can continue? Until the concentration of water becomes equal on both sides. As I said, water gets saturated. I told an example of sugar solution added to a beaker. So until the concentration of water will be equal on both sides. When it is equal, when water is getting saturated, the flow of water from one concentration to other concentration will stop. Then what is the significance of diffusion and what is the significance of osmosis? Significance in the sense importance. Importance of diffusion and importance of osmosis. Transpiration of water vapor from stomata. Transpiration of water vapor from stomata. So this diffusion helps in transpiration of water vapor from stomata. If there is no diffusion, then all the water and the vapor that whatever the sun's heat that the plant is taking up will retain in the plant itself. The plant has to get rid of that heat also, isn't it? So for that, transpiration will help. So for this transpiration process, this occurs by diffusion process. Next, the ions and water molecules spread to protoplast through diffusion. Whatever the ions present around the cell or in the cytoplasm gets inside the protoplast by this diffusion process. Next, pollinators are attracted due to diffusion of aromatic compounds. Pollinators, who are pollinators? Birds and insects are called as pollinators because they help in pollination. What is pollination? Pollination is the spreading of or the transfer of pollen grains from male part of the flower called as anther to female part of the flower called as stigma. Stigma has ovary. If the pollen grains are transferred from male part to the female part, it is called as pollination. Who is helping? The plant by itself don't have hands to transfer from one plant to another, isn't it? Yes. So this will be done by agents called as pollinators. Example, birds and insects are pollinators. When birds come and sit on the flowers, the pollen grains stick on the leg or feet of the birds, and then if the same bird sits on another flower, it shreds the pollen grains on the flower. So there how ovary attracts the pollen grains towards itself. So that is how pollination occurs. Same case when insects come and sit on the flower for the sake of nectar from the flower, it takes up, or the feet of the insects or the antenna of the insects, this pollen grains will get attracted or get sticked up. And thereby the same insect sits on the another flower, it shreds the pollen grains on the another flower. That is how pollination occurs. So what will be attracted by this pollinators? Something gets attracting the pollinators to come and sit on the flower. So that something is nothing but the flower by itself has some aromatic compounds. Aroma means smell. The flower has that aromatic compounds that raises up or diffuses in the air, and that calls the insects to come and sit on it. That is what is the same principle for perfume. Perfume, we do apply it here, and then but that perfume smell will get dispersed in the air after some time. The same process is diffusion. The same thing is happening here. So the pollinators are getting attracted due to diffusion of aromatic compounds that are present in the flowers. Next, significance of osmosis. What is the importance of osmosis? About osmosis we have discussed under many topics. Osmosis helps in absorption of water and minerals by roots through a semi-permeable membrane. Cell membrane is called as semi-permeable membrane. Then this osmosis regulates opening and closing of stomata. By this process it opens and closes. When will stomata close? When both the sides the water concentration is equal, it will automatically close. When there is increase or decrease in the water concentration, it will open. So this osmosis helps in regulating the opening and closing of stomata. When it is opening, of course the air from outside gets inside. So it also helps for respiration also. So there ends the topics for today. In my next video, I will continue with remaining process involved in absorption of water by roots. If you like my videos, please click like button. Don't forget to share it to your friends and please subscribe my channel. Thank you for supporting me.